lot of the times when you debate conservatives, I've noticed that you debate them very aggressively. Do you think that it would work in your favor if the end goal is to actually convert conservatives to having a more liberal perspective, would be to debate more compassionately? Like you said, how, if you slander someone or you morally grandstand on them or you call them a bigot, that's not the best way of converting people towards your ideology. Do you think if you went into it with more compassion, that it would actually yield better results?
Yeah, I think so. It's funny that you asked me that question because the research must have been on relatively older videos, because my recent approach has been like very, very, very compassionate. Usually the pushback I get from my audience or other people's that I'm way too nice to conservatives. Like a lot of people call me like a Nazi or a fascist or whatever, just because I like try to be pretty empathetic and understanding when I'm arguing with conservatives, and I tend to do a pretty good job at that. But my relationship with people on the left is so adversarial that like a lot of people are like, oh, you have no charity for people on the left, you're so nice to conservatives and blah, blah, blah. So
why do people on the left hate you?
There's something called another bias, cognitive bias, something called the bigotry of small differences. If you're arguing with somebody that is ideologically very different than you, there's not much they can say to actually like hurt or upset you, right? Like if I'm talking to a conservative and they say like, oh, like you support the gay agenda and you're blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, maybe. But if I'm disagreeing with a person on the left, their insults are like, oh, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're bigoted. And it's like, no, you feel a lot more strongly attacked by insults that are coming from people that are more ideologically similar to you, because you don't see yourself as the insults they're giving. Whereas like for a conservative, I can understand a conservative saying that like, oh, you're like a cuck, SJW, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, to you, I probably am. But like when a person on the left is saying like, you're a horrible racist person that is like filled with hatred, it's like, I'm absolutely not. So I think for people that are more ideologically similar to you, you're more likely to fight with them. I think this comes to conservatives and people on the left.
And what was it that helped you pivot from being more aggressive towards your adversaries to a more compassionate?
I think just strategy analysis over time. Like in 2016, when I started debating, my whole kind of like shtick was that I was like the aggressive leftist debater, that like no other person on the left was willing to do that. But just like over time, as I talk to people, as I communicate to people, as I learn and understand more about people, I start to realize that like, if I change somebody's mind, I have to understand where they're coming from. Otherwise, it's basically like, I can come into your audience and I can just basically shit on you and attack you so hard that like some members of the audience like think you did so bad that they kind of want to like abandon you. Or I can step in and be like, listen, I know where you're coming from. Like, let's talk about this or this. And that seems to be a more effective strategy overall to getting people.
Do you feel like your blue hair helps or hurts you?
That's a really hard one. I like to have a wide scope in terms of like what I present as and what I'm capable of. So in some ways it hurts me because it puts me immediately on kind of like a back foot, because like, oh, you're blue haired, blah, 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 blah. But then like, it's also funny to come on and be the blue haired guy, but like the other people are the ones like screaming and losing their mind. And I'm like trying to be like rational, reasonable, whatever. So there's like there's a big like dissonance when somebody sees me and they're like, oh, this guy's probably going to come up and scream about how we're all racist or whatever. But then like I'll come on and make edgy jokes and like be chill or whatever. And so I think it helps a little bit. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people on the right could completely just ignore you.
Dismiss you, yeah.
Because they see like the beard or whatever. They see just the destiny, like your own merch on your chest. And then
the beard?
Yeah,
the beard.
I don't know.
The beard. You know Jesus had a beard, right?
All right,
Jack, the beard.
Can we cut that? The beard?
I guess we could. The beard is fine. Okay.
Okay,
Maybe
thank you.
The beard makes
the
no
blue
sense.
hair.
The blue hair,
Okay.
maybe like, the beard is groomed pretty well. Okay, I'm
No, that's all right. I'm gonna get a septum piercing.
No,
go ahead.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, I understand.
If you presented yourself in a very professional way, right, rather than what a lot of people view the liberals as, do you think that it could help convert also more people from the right? And it's also something different. It differentiates you. I feel like from just the stereotype that a lot of the conservatives see. And then that would be enough of a shocker to hopefully give them some space in their brain where you can help them fill that with something of your ideology.
Yeah, there's a very delicate balancing act between like, how much do I want to, I don't want to say compromise, but like how much do I want to change a demeanor about me to appeal to somebody else versus what ground do I want to fight over? And that's just like a subjective feeling like every time. Like I can either say like, I'm going to dress in a suit and tie, be very professional, go talk to you because I don't even want to try to convince you about appearance or anything. Or I can say, actually, appearance is one of the grounds that I do want to fight on. I do want to convince you of that. I should be able to talk to you. You should be able to hear me. And as long as I'm making good arguments and I'm having fun and everybody's like being chill or whatever, even though I look a certain way, it shouldn't be a bother to you. And hopefully that like moves you a bit, like it moves the needle a bit on like the appearance thing. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to ultimately like, what do you want to fight over, you know?
See, I feel like your appearance helps you with personal branding and online marketing.
It absolutely does for that, because now so many people are like, oh my God, you're the blue-haired guy on TikTok. Yeah,
exactly. I've seen some of your interviews on whatever. It stands out because of the hair.
The blue hair.
But I feel like when debating with certain people, they might dismiss you a little bit too quickly because of that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Why do you go on whatever?
I'm really good at going into other environments and like synergizing really well with, especially in hostile environments. So I like going on whatever because their audience is like primed to hate me, but I can still go on, have a good time, get a whole new audience to view me in a positive light, and then I like win fans in favor, and it's usually fun.
Why do they hate you?
Because we're ideologically completely different. I hate almost every single thing red pill people stand for, and they're all tend to be like more like conservative or anti-establishment in views. So I'm like the exact opposite too.
What are the biggest things you guys clash on though?
Well, the last time I was there 2 days ago was a debate on abortion. So that was but it was just me versus another set of people. Other times, so like red pill stuff, basically everything. My view of like red pill is basically like red pillers hate women, and then they try to tell you all the ways you could fuck them over. And that's like the entirety of like the red pill ideology. That's what it feels like to me. That's not like the best Steelman version of it, but that's
not how they frame it.
Huh?
That's not how they frame
No, of course not. The way that they frame it is through
like working on yourself.
Yeah, it's male empowerment to put yourself in an area where you have so much success and power that you're able to attract and achieve whatever you want with whatever woman you want, essentially, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it seems as though you've accomplished that in a sense of just like you have people hitting you up on Instagram, and you could fly to any city and there's somebody there. It seems like you guys would have a lot in common beneath all maybe some of the nuances.
Yeah, but the difference is the way that I engage in relationships, the types of relationships I have, and the methods or strategies that I use are worlds apart from these other guys.
And how are the strategies different?
I mean, like I try to be really respectful. Like I don't shit on women constantly. I try like generally I think that I would say that, like I think like the way that I attract people is like a really healthy balance of like masculine and feminine traits. Like I can be really aggressive and really funny and really joking, really charismatic, but I can also be like really receptive or communicative or emotionally available, hopefully if I can. So like I try to like strike a balance between these traits when I'm dealing with somebody. My goal is never to like trick or trap somebody into like fucking me. I'm trying not to use like like all like the strategies and the weird things, and I try to be respectful. I feel like on the red pill side, like a lot of it is like very aggressively oriented towards like churning and burning a bunch of like high body count whores until you can like settle down with some virgin wife and blah blah blah. And like like my view is like it's literally what it is.
Funny way to put it.
I mean, like, well, because that's what was like
the
the piece of advice is like you should fuck 50 women by the time you're 35 years old.
Yeah, that's what they say.
But then like ultimately, they want to like settle down with like a virgin wife, and it's like okay.
Yeah. So they say though that you got to bleep this because I don't want anyone clipping me. I don't want any clipping me.
They say
hoes gonna be hoes, so you may as well go and get it. That's what they say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I mean, like, yeah, some people are, but I mean, like, guys can be too. I just don't like how crazy the double standards are between how they view sexuality between men and women. Like, I understand that it's a bit different in terms of like how we pursue it and who's got the desire for it.
You're like the key analogy, right? Like if you have the one key that opens up all the locks, it's a master key. But if you have one lock that's opened by any key, it's a broken lock.
Sure. Which to some extent you can argue it's true, but like how much of that is like a biological reality versus how much of that is like socially enforced. Like the thing that frustrates me about a lot of these platforms is like guys will come on and they'll say women that sleep around are whores. You cannot take any woman with a body count over 5 seriously. No women today who get married are even fucking virgins anymore. Women are fucking just disgusting STD spreading monsters, blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing is going to be like, it's so hard to like find women to have sex with. Like there are so many incels and we just can't find women that want to hook up with us. And it's so painful and irritating to deal with. And like women play so many fucking games. And it's like, well, yeah, like how do you not see how like these two things connect? You know, like if you're constantly judging like a whole group of people for engaging in sex while at the same time doing every single fucking thing you can to like get sex out of them, and then you're upset or frustrated that like they're playing games with you, but you're treating every single sexual interaction as a zero-sum game where like my goal is like I need to go and fuck that woman and I'm decreasing her value while increasing my value. Like it's the most adversarial dynamic you could possibly set up. And like, yeah, I mean, as long as you're doing that, it's just like, yeah, it's horrible. It's like a horrible setup. Like everybody's losing in this setup.